They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But what happens when a billionaire heiress serves it on a $30 million silver platter? Derek Holloway thought he had it all figured out. Self-made tech CEO, $45 million mansion overlooking the Pacific, and a 24-year-old supermodel on his arm after he publicly dumped his boring housewife on Instagram for 800,000 people to see. What Derek didn't know? His quiet yoga pants wearing wife wasn't just any housewife. She was Catherine Morrison, sole heir to a $4.2 billion Texas oil dynasty. And every major contract he'd ever landed, every door that had opened for his so-called self-made empire, she'd made one phone call. Derek called her dead weight, took their kids, built his monument to ego on Malibu's coastline. Big mistake. Because when you build your empire on someone else's foundation and then kick that foundation out from under you, well, the whole thing comes crashing down. And Kate Morrison was about to teach her ex-husband a lesson that would echo from the courtrooms of Los Angeles to the auction houses of Sotheby's. This is the story of a woman who played small for 15 years, and the spectacular moment she decided to show the world exactly how big a dynasty can be. Buckle up. This is the dynasty's revenge. Kate Morrison Holloway stood in her Malibu kitchen on a Thursday evening in early March, arranging roses in a crystal vase she'd received as a wedding gift 15 years ago. The house was silent except for the distant crash of waves against the private beach and the ticking of the $8,000 Swiss clock Derek had insisted they needed for the foyer. She checked her watch. 7:30. Derek would be home any minute for their anniversary dinner. The table was set with their wedding china, the Wedgwood pattern they'd registered for back when they were young and in love and believed in forever. Candles flickered in silver holders that had been her grandmother's. She'd made his favorite meal, pan-seared salmon with roasted vegetables and garlic mashed potatoes. A bottle of the Bordeaux they'd shared on their honeymoon in France sat breathing on the marble counter, ruby red in the soft kitchen light. Kate caught her reflection in the darkened window overlooking the ocean. 38 years old, brown hair that desperately needed highlights, pulled back in a messy ponytail. Yoga pants she'd worn for 3 days straight, an old Northwestern sweatshirt with a coffee stain on the sleeve. When had she stopped trying? No, that wasn't fair. She'd been trying. She'd been running the household, raising 2 children, managing Derek's entire life so he could focus on building his empire, coordinating his schedule, entertaining his clients, making sure his world ran smoothly so he could be the genius entrepreneur. That was trying. That was work. Her hand drifted to her stomach, a gesture that was becoming habitual. 8 weeks. She'd taken 3 tests to be absolutely sure, watching those 2 pink lines appear with a mixture of joy and trepidation. Tonight she'd tell him, their 3rd child. Maybe this would bring them back together, close the distance that had been growing between them for the past 2 years. Maybe this baby was exactly what they needed to remember why they'd fallen in love in the first place. She'd wrapped the pregnancy test in a small blue Tiffany box with a silver ribbon. It sat next to his plate at the head of the table, waiting. The ultimate anniversary surprise. The front door opened with a bang that echoed through the 12,000-square-foot house. Derek's voice rang out through the foyer, loud and confident, but he was talking on his phone. Always on his phone. No, Marcus, tell them $5 million minimum, or we walk away from the table. I'm Derek Holloway. I don't negotiate with lowball offers. We hold the cards here, not them. He appeared in the kitchen doorway, 6'2" of expensive suit and designer cologne, still deep in conversation, not seeing the dinner or the candles or the woman who'd spent 3 hours preparing everything. Kate, where's my blue Tom Ford suit? He asked, phone still pressed to his ear. I have the Goldman Sachs pitch tomorrow morning at 8. It needs to be pressed. She opened her mouth to answer, but he was already scrolling through emails on his phone with his free hand. Hold on, Marcus, he said into the device. Then to Kate, barely looking at her. The suit? Cleaners, Kate said. I picked it up this afternoon. It's in your closet. Derek, did you remember what today is? He looked up, distracted, his mind clearly 3 meetings ahead. Thursday? Kate's smile crumbled like old paper. It's our anniversary, 15 years. Understanding flashed across his face, followed almost immediately by irritation. Not guilt, not remorse. Irritation that she was adding another thing to his mental load. Oh, babe, I'm sorry. The IPO is in 3 weeks. Everything's absolutely insane right now. Goldman wants to move on the filing, and the timing is critical. Can we do this celebration thing next month? I'll take you to Paris. First class. The George Cinq. The whole romantic thing, I promise. Sure. Kate's voice came out flat, emotionless. Next month. You're the best. I knew you'd understand. He was already walking away, phone back to his ear. Love you, Marcus? Yeah, I'm back. Tell them we need the valuation at 2 billion or no deal. His voice faded as he climbed the stairs to his home office. Kate stood alone in her perfect kitchen with her perfect dinner and her increasingly imperfect marriage. She looked at the small blue Tiffany box sitting by his plate, the box containing news that would change everything. She blew out the candles one by one, watching the smoke curl up toward the vaulted ceiling. She put the food away in matching Tupperware containers, the salmon already starting to congeal. The wine went back in the rack. The table settings went back in the china cabinet. The box went into her pocket, a small hard rectangle against her hip. It wasn't the first forgotten anniversary. Last year he'd been in Singapore for a pitch. The year before that he'd remembered at midnight and ordered flowers that arrived 3 days late. But something about tonight felt different. Something about the casual dismissal, the way he couldn't even be bothered to fake caring, told Kate that she'd reached the end of something. She just didn't know yet how catastrophic that ending would be. The next morning, Kate brought coffee to Derek's home office at 6:30, the way she'd done every morning for 15 years. He'd fallen asleep at his desk again, his laptop still glowing with spreadsheets and pitch decks and revenue projections. Empty energy drink cans littered the mahogany surface. His phone sat face up next to his keyboard, screen dark but pulsing with notification lights. Kate set the coffee down carefully, trying not to wake him. He looked younger when he slept, more like the ambitious 25-year-old mechanic's son from Bakersfield she'd fallen in love with at Northwestern. Before the money, before the mansion, before everything had gotten so complicated. His phone buzzed with an incoming text. The screen lit up. Kate glanced down automatically, then froze. The name read Scarlett, with a red lipstick emoji. The preview text made her stomach drop. Last night was amazing. Can't wait to see you in Miami this weekend. I miss you already, baby. Her hand shook. Coffee sloshed over the rim of the mug, the hot liquid burning her fingers. But she barely felt it through the sudden roaring in her ears. She shouldn't look. She should wake him up and ask like a mature adult. Have the conversation they needed to have. But her thumb was already swiping open his phone. No passcode. He'd never hidden anything from her before. Or so she'd thought. The text chain loaded, message after message after message, scrolling up the screen. You're incredible. Never felt this alive with anyone. When are you leaving her? I'm getting impatient, baby. Soon, I promise. She's dead weight anyway, no ambition, no fire, just yoga pants and carpool. LOL dead weight. That's harsh but accurate. You deserve someone who matches your energy. I know, this IPO changes everything. Once we close the Goldman deal, I'm filing for divorce. Kate's vision narrowed to a tunnel. The coffee mug slipped from her numb fingers and shattered on the hardwood floor with a crash that sounded like a gunshot in the quiet house. Derek jolted awake, papers flying. Jesus Christ, Kate! Who's Scarlett? Kate heard herself ask from very far away. Her free hand instinctively went to her stomach, to the tiny cluster of cells growing there that Derek didn't even know existed yet. Protecting what he couldn't destroy. Yet. Derek's eyes went immediately to his phone, still clutched in her hand, still displaying the damning messages. His expression shifted through several emotions in rapid succession: surprise, guilt, calculation, and finally defensive anger. What the hell are you doing looking at my phone? Who is Scarlett? Kate repeated, her voice stronger now. She's nobody. A client. You're overreacting. You're sleeping with her. Derek stood up, running both hands through his hair, in a gesture she'd seen 1,000 times when he was preparing to lie or manipulate. So what if I am? The admission hit like a physical blow. Kate stepped backward, her shoes crunching on broken ceramic and spreading coffee. The small blue box felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds in her pocket. You've been checked out for years. Derek's voice rose, aggressive now that his secret was exposed. You're a housewife, Kate. All you do is drive carpool and arrange flowers and attend PTA meetings. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. I raised our children, and Kate's voice shook but held firm. I managed our home. I supported your dreams. I gave up my career so you could build yours. Your dreams, Derek shouted, and Kate could smell the stale energy drinks on his breath. I built social verse. Me, what did you contribute? Grocery shopping? Making sure my suits were pressed? Kate stared at the man she'd loved since she was 23 years old. The mechanic's son from Bakersfield who'd promised her the moon and stars and forever. The boy who'd built her a bookshelf in his tiny apartment because she'd mentioned loving to read. The man who'd cried when Tyler was born and told her she'd made him the happiest person alive. This stranger wearing his face. I need passion, Kate, ambition, fire. Derek's voice went cold now, calculated. You're just beige, bland, comfortable. Scarlett gets me. She's hungry. She understands what it takes to win in this world. You're satisfied with the comfortable. I made you comfortable, Kate whispered, so you could build your dream. And I'm grateful for the support, really. But Kate, I've outgrown this, outgrown us. He grabbed his phone from her hand. I'm filing for divorce. My lawyer will contact you next week. Derek, I'm pregnant. The words came out before she could stop them, before she could think, before she could protect the last precious secret she had. Derek's face went blank. What? 8 weeks. I was going to tell you last night for our anniversary. Kate's voice broke. I made dinner. I bought a gift. I was going to tell you we were having another baby. Derek was quiet for a long moment. Then, get rid of it. Kate felt the room tilt. What? Get rid of it. I'm not having another kid with you. I'm starting over with Scarlett. Clean slate. This is your problem, not mine. He walked past her, stepping over the broken coffee mug without looking back. His footsteps echoed up the stairs. A door slammed. Kate stood in the spreading puddle of coffee and broken glass and broken dreams, one hand on her stomach, and felt 15 years of her life shatter into pieces too small to ever put back together. Kate sat in her car in the Whole Foods parking lot 40 minutes later. She'd driven there on autopilot, her brain too shocked to process where she should go or what she should do. The steering wheel blurred through tears she didn't remember starting to cry. Dead weight, beige, get rid of it. 15 years of making herself small so Derek could feel big. And these were the words he chose. These were the memories she'd carry forever. Her phone buzzed, a text from Derek. Staying at the Bel Air tonight. Need space to think, don't wait up. Kate laughed, a bitter sound that came out more like a sob. He needed space. He'd been getting plenty of space in Miami with Scarlett, in hotel rooms, in her bed. While Kate was home with their children, pregnant with a baby he wanted her to eliminate like a problem to be solved. Another text, this one from her daughter Emma. Mom, where are you? I need help with my science project on ocean ecosystems. It's due tomorrow and I'm freaking out. Kate started to type a response, but her hands were shaking too badly. The cramps started then, low in her abdomen. Just stress, she told herself. Just the shock of the morning. Just your body reacting to trauma. But the pain intensified, sharp, insistent, wrong. Kate looked down. A dark stain was spreading across her gray yoga pants. No, she whispered to the empty car. No, 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 please no. She drove to Cedars Sinai Medical Center with tears streaming down her face, one hand on the wheel, one hand pressed to her stomach, as if she could physically hold everything together through sheer force of will. The radio played cheerful pop music that sounded like mockery. Traffic moved at the pace of nightmares. She parked badly, taking up 2 spaces, not caring. The emergency room doors opened automatically, and she walked in, leaving a trail of blood behind her that someone would have to clean up later. The emergency room doctor was young, maybe 30, with kind eyes and practiced gentleness that somehow made everything worse. He delivered the news in a private room with fluorescent lights that made Kate's skin look gray. I'm so sorry, Mrs. Holloway. There's no heartbeat. You're experiencing what we call a spontaneous abortion, a miscarriage. The ultrasound shows the fetus stopped developing approximately 48 hours ago. The emotional stress and trauma you experienced likely contributed to the miscarriage, though these things sometimes happen without any clear cause. Kate lay on the exam table, staring at the ceiling tiles and counting them. 24 visible tiles. Some had small brown water stains in the corners. One had a dead fly trapped in the plastic cover. Mundane details while her world ended. Spontaneous abortion sounded so clinical, so clean and medical, like her body had simply changed its mind about something unimportant. Like this wasn't a wanted child. Like this wasn't the baby she'd been planning to announce over anniversary dinner with candles and wine and hope. But Kate knew the truth. Derek's words had killed this child as surely as if he'd struck her. Dead weight, get rid of it. The venom he'd poured into her ears had poisoned everything. Is there someone we can call? The doctor asked gently. Your husband? A family member? Kate's laugh came out as a sob. No, there's no one. She was wrong about that. After the procedure, after the paperwork, after they'd surgically removed from her body the child she'd carried for 8 weeks and loved for longer, Kate sat alone in her car in the hospital parking lot and called her father. It was 1 in the afternoon, Thursday, her anniversary, the day that had started with such hope. Katie girl, Big Jim Morrison's Texas drawl usually made her smile. Today it made her want to crawl through the phone into his arms and be 6 years old again. What's going on? You never call in the middle of the day. Daddy, her voice cracked on the word, immediate concern. What's wrong? You sound terrible. What happened? Derek's leaving me for a 24-year-old model named Scarlett. Kate's voice was hollow, scraped clean of emotion. And Daddy, I was pregnant, 8 weeks. I told Derek this morning, and he told me to get rid of it. We fought. He said I was dead weight, and then I started bleeding. I lost the baby today at the hospital. The doctor said it was stress-induced. He killed our baby without even meaning to. He killed it with his words. Silence on the other end. Then her father's voice, low and more dangerous than she'd ever heard it. That son of a bitch. Katie, where are you right now? Tell me where you are, and I'm getting on my plane this second. Hospital parking lot, Cedars-Sinai. You drove yourself? You're alone? Yes. Baby girl, I'm going to need you to drive to the ranch house in Santa Monica. Can you do that? The one we keep for when I'm in LA. You remember where it is? Yes. I need you to promise me you'll drive straight there. Don't go home. Don't see Derek. Just go to the ranch house and wait for me. Can you promise me that? Okay. Katie, before you go, I need to ask you something. Big Jim's voice gentled. The social verse contract. The Morrison Oil account. That was because of you, wasn't it? You asked me to help Derek 15 years ago. The pause told him everything. Daddy, you know it was. Every contract, Austin Medical Group, Texas Real Estate Network, Dallas Tech Consortium, all of them, every single one. Her father's voice carried the weight of confirmation. You called me 15 years ago. You'd just gotten engaged. You said, Daddy, my fiance has a brilliant idea for a social media analytics platform, but nobody will take a meeting. He's from Bakersfield. He doesn't have connections. Can you help? I made the calls. I vouched for him. I opened every door he walked through because you asked me to, because you loved him. Kate leaned her forehead against the steering wheel, watching her tears fall onto her lap. He thinks he did it himself. Men like Derek need to believe they're self-made. I let him believe it. For you. Because you asked me to let him have his pride. She thought about the Instagram model, the cruel words, dead weight, beige, get rid of it. 15 years of making herself small so Derek could feel big. 15 years of hiding her family's wealth and power because she'd wanted to be loved for herself. And now a child lost because his cruelty had created a stress her body couldn't survive. Pull the contracts, Kate said. Katie, that'll destroy his company. He'll lose everything. He called me dead weight. Steel entered her voice for the first time. He said I contributed nothing. He told me to get rid of our baby. And today, while he was probably texting her, planning his new life, I lost our third child alone in a hospital. Pulls the contracts, all of them. I want to watch him fall. Her father's pride came through the phone. There's my girl. That's my Katie. I'll make the calls tonight. And Daddy, I'm done hiding. I'm coming home to Texas. It's time to stop being small. It's time to show Derek Holloway exactly who he married. She hung up and looked at herself in the rearview mirror. Catherine Elizabeth Morrison, sole heir to a $4.2 billion Texas oil dynasty, Wharton MBA that she'd earned while Derek was building a startup, board member of 12 major corporations, daughter of one of the most powerful men in Texas. She'd spent 15 years playing housewife, wearing yoga pants, driving carpool, pretending to be ordinary. That ended today. You wanted a queen, Derek? She said to her reflection. You wanted passion and fire and ambition? I'll show you what a dynasty looks like when you wake it up. She started the car and drove to the ranch house, one hand on the wheel, one hand on her stomach, mourning the child Derek would never know about and the marriage that had died along with it. 2 weeks after the confrontation in Derek's office, Kate was helping Tyler pack for his 8th grade field trip to Sacramento when her world imploded for the second time. She was still bleeding. Not heavily anymore, but the doctor had said it could take up to 4 weeks for her body to fully recover from the miscarriage. Every cramp reminded her of what she'd lost. Every twinge was a memorial, what Derek had cost her with his cruelty. Mom, are you okay? Tyler asked, his 14-year-old face creased with concern. You've been kind of sick for a while. Is it the flu or something? I'm fine, sweetie. Kate forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Just a stomach bug that won't quit. Nothing to worry about. Tyler's phone buzzed on his bed. He picked it up and his face went pale as milk. Mom, he said quietly. Mom, don't look at Instagram. But Kate's phone was already exploding with notifications. Dozens. Hundreds. The buzzing wouldn't stop. A swarm of digital wasps attacking her from every angle. She opened the app with shaking hands. Derek's post filled her screen. Him and a blonde goddess kissing on a yacht. Mediterranean blue water sparkling behind them like scattered diamonds. The woman was everything Kate wasn't. 24 years old, 6 feet tall, poured into a gold bikini that probably cost more than Kate's monthly grocery budget. Long platinum hair, perfect body, Instagram face, the kind of woman who made other women feel inferior just by existing. The caption read, New chapter with my queen, finally living my truth, when you know, new beginnings, upgrade, living my best life, no regrets, real love. 847,000 likes in 3 minutes. Kate scrolled through comments, each one a knife sliding between her ribs. OMG, power couple goals. His wife was so basic anyway. This is a major glow up. Yas King, get your happiness. You deserve this. The upgrade is real, from frumpy to fabulous. She looks like a Kardashian and his ex looks like a soccer mom. No contest. Poor old wife never stood a chance, lol. Her phone rang. Emma, her 11-year-old daughter, calling from her friend Madison's house where she was supposed to be sleeping over. Mommy? Emma was sobbing so hard Kate could barely understand her. Everyone's saying Daddy has a new family. Madison's mom showed her the Instagram, and Madison showed everyone. All my friends are asking if Daddy's leaving us for that lady. Is it true? Is Daddy really leaving us? Baby, I'm coming to get you right now. I'm leaving in 30 seconds. Tyler's phone rang. He put it on speaker without asking permission. Marcus Washington, Derek's business partner and co-founder, sounded furious. Kate, I'm so sorry. I had no idea he was going to post that. I'm at the office right now and he's popping champagne with investors, acting like he just won the lottery. I tried to stop him. I told him this was wrong. He wouldn't listen. In the background, Kate heard Derek's voice, drunk and triumphant. To new beginnings, out with the old, in with the gold, to gorgeous women and second chances. Laughter, cheers, the sound of grown men celebrating her humiliation. The sound of her marriage becoming a punchline at a party she wasn't invited to. Kate felt something break inside her. Not her heart, that was already shattered, stomped on, ground into dust. This was different. This was the last thread of mercy snapping, the final restraint dissolving. The moment when a woman who'd been trying to be reasonable decided that reasonable was overrated. "Tyler, get in the car," Kate said quietly, her voice deadly calm. "We're getting your sister. Now." They drove to Madison's house in Pacific Palisades in complete silence. Emma climbed in the back seat, still crying, mascara running down her face. Kate drove without speaking, her hands steady on the wheel even though her whole world was burning down. She didn't know where she was going until she ended up on the Pacific Coast Highway, heading east toward the desert and Texas beyond. Running away, running home, running toward the only people who'd never betrayed her. Her phone kept buzzing. News alerts. TMZ had picked up the story. Tech CEO Derek Holloway goes public with supermodel girlfriend Scarlett Valencia. People magazine. Silicon Valley's hottest new couple. Page 6. From housewife to hot wife. Derek Holloway's stunning upgrade. Kate pulled over at a rest stop near Thousand Oaks and ran to the bathroom, where she threw up until there was nothing left but bile and grief. When she came out, both kids were crying in the car. "Is Daddy really leaving us for her?" Emma asked, her voice small and broken. "Doesn't he love us anymore?" Kate looked at her children through the window. Tyler angry and protective, trying to be the man of the family at 14. Emma scared and confused, wondering what she'd done wrong to make her father leave. Both of them caught in the crossfire of adult selfishness and cruelty. She thought about the baby she'd lost 2 weeks ago. The third child Derek would never know about. The child who died because her body couldn't handle the stress of his betrayal and rejection. The baby she'd mourned alone while Derek was planning his Instagram reveal with his new girlfriend. "Yes," Kate said, getting back in the car. "Your father made a choice. But here's what I need you both to understand. You did nothing wrong. This isn't about you. This is about him. And I promise you on everything I have, we're going to be okay. Better than okay." "How?" Tyler asked, his voice cracking. "Everyone at school's going to make fun of us. Everyone's going to know our dad left us for some Instagram model." Kate looked at her son. "Let them talk. Let them laugh because they have no idea who we really are, who I really am. Your father just made the biggest mistake of his life, and he's going to learn that the hard way." She got back in the car and called her father while the kids listened. "Daddy, I'm bringing the kids to the ranch, and then we go to war." Big Jim Morrison's voice was firm. "I've been waiting for this call. The plane's ready. How fast can you get to Van Nuys Airport?" 2 hours. "I'll have a car waiting, and Katie, we're going to make this right." "No, Daddy, we're not making it right. We're making it legendary." The Morrison Ranch sat on 50,000 acres of West Texas scrubland, 40 miles outside of Dallas. Oil derricks dotted the horizon like mechanical grasshoppers, pumping black gold that had built hospitals and universities and political careers. The main house was a sprawling limestone structure that had been in the family since 1952, expanded over the decades but keeping its original character. Long porches, high ceilings, the kind of generational wealth that didn't need to announce itself. Big Jim Morrison stood on the front porch at sunset as the Morrison private jet landed on the ranch's airstrip. 68 years old, 6'3" even with the slight stoop age was giving him silver hair under a black Stetson, boots polished to a mirror shine. He looked like what he was, a man who'd inherited wealth and multiplied it tenfold, who'd built an empire from his father's oil wells and never forgot where he came from. Kate climbed out of the Escalade that had picked them up and collapsed into his arms. She'd held it together for the kids during the flight. Now, on her father's land, surrounded by family, she finally let herself break. "Let it out, baby girl," Big Jim said, stroking her hair the way he'd done when she was small. "Let it all out, then we go to war." Tyler and Emma stood awkwardly by the car, uncertain. They'd only been to the ranch a handful of times. Kate had kept them away deliberately, maintaining the fiction of her ordinary life. Now they were seeing the truth. "You kids come here," Big Jim said, releasing Kate and opening his arms. "Your mama's hurting, but she's tough as nails. Tougher than that daddy of yours will ever be. Come on now." Inside the ranch library, Jackson Morrison paced like a caged tiger. Kate's older brother, 40 years old, Harvard MBA, and the operational brains behind Morrison Oil. He wore a $3,000 Tom Ford suit with his father's beat-up cowboy boots, the perfect symbol of old money meeting new ambition. Rebecca Martinez, the family attorney, rolled a suitcase full of files into the room. 40 years old, 5'4" of Latina fury in a power suit, she'd been protecting Morrison interests for 15 years. She had also been Kate's roommate at Wharton, which meant she knew exactly how brilliant Kate was and how much she'd sacrificed. "Katie, I'm so sorry," Becca said, pulling Kate into a fierce hug. "But we need to move fast. Derek's lawyer filed papers this morning." "Already?" Kate wiped her eyes. "We only talked 2 weeks ago." Jackson tossed a legal document on the desk. "Derek's not wasting time. He's asking for full custody of Tyler and Emma, the Malibu house, and he's claiming you're mentally unstable and unable to provide appropriate care." Kate's head snapped up. "What?" Becca pulled out a highlighted brief, her expression grim. "He's using your therapy sessions against you. Says you're clinically depressed, discuss self-harm, unfit to parent, have no independent income, and demonstrate emotional instability following the dissolution of the marriage." Using the therapy sessions. Kate had started seeing Dr. Linda Brooks 2 weeks after the miscarriage. She'd been drowning in grief for a child Derek didn't know existed, processing a betrayal that had cost her everything, trying to function for Tyler and Emma while wanting to disappear. In those sessions, in that safe space, she'd admitted to feeling suicidal, to standing in her bathroom at 2 in the morning looking at pill bottles and wondering if the pain would ever stop, to imagining driving her car off the Pacific Coast Highway and just ending it all. Private thoughts shared with a doctor who was supposed to keep them confidential. And somehow Derek had gotten access to those records. "That's horse shit," Big Jim roared, slamming his hand on the desk. "He caused her depression. He's the reason she needed therapy. He can't use her healing against her." "Doesn't matter," Becca said grimly. "He co-paid for the sessions as part of the family health insurance plan. Legally, he had the right to request the records, and Dr. Brooks was compelled to provide them under California law." And the judge assigned to the case is Patricia Walsh, conservative, old school, traditional family values. Children need stability. Derek's got the $45 million mansion, the successful company, and the stable new relationship with this scarlet person who's positioning herself as a positive role model. Kate felt panic rising in her chest like floodwater. "He can't take my kids. He can't. They're all I have left." "Katie, listen to me." Jackson knelt in front of his sister, taking her hands. "We can fight this. We can win this. But you have to stop hiding who you are." "Hiding? You've been playing housewife for 15 years, pretending to be ordinary. The world thinks you're nobody. Kate Holloway, stay-at-home mom with no income and no prospects. We need to show them who Kate Morrison really is." "No, I wanted a normal life. I wanted Derek to love me for me, not for the money. And you got humiliated, darling." Big Jim pulled out a Forbes magazine from last month with Derek's face on the cover. "Look at this. Look at what he's saying about himself." Kate took the magazine with trembling hands. The headline read, "The Self-Made Billionaire's Blueprint for Success. How Derek Holloway Built a Tech Empire from Nothing." Self-made, from nothing. Built on her family's connections, on her phone calls, on her foundation that he'd kicked out from under himself, while she was losing their child in a hospital emergency room, bleeding and alone. "What do I have to do?" Kate asked, her voice steadying. Becca opened her briefcase. "All business now. First, we pull every Morrison contract from Socialverse, every single one. We watch his company bleed and his valuation crash. We show the world that Derek Holloway isn't self-made. He's Morrison-made." Jackson nodded, pulling out his own files. "Second, we file for full custody with affidavits from everyone who knows you actually raised those kids while Derek was building his empire. Teachers, coaches, doctors, neighbors. We document every soccer game he missed, every parent-teacher conference you attended alone, every birthday party you threw while he was traveling." Big Jim's smile was cold and calculating. "And third, we remind him that he's not a king. He's a court jester who got lucky enough to marry into royalty, and we own the castle he's been dancing in." Kate stood. She walked to the window overlooking the ranch. Oil derricks pumping in the distance, their rhythmic motion hypnotic. Cattle grazing on land that stretched to the horizon. 3 generations of Morrison wealth built on this land, expanded globally, wielded carefully. Wealth that Derek had used without ever knowing its source. He told me I was nothing, Kate said quietly. Dead weight. He told me to get rid of our baby. And he said it the morning before I lost that baby forever. The room went silent. Tyler and Emma, who'd been sitting quietly in the corner, looked up sharply. What baby? Jackson asked softly. Kate turned to face her family, her father, her brother, her lawyer, her children who deserved to know the truth. I was 8 weeks pregnant on our anniversary. I was going to tell Derek that night. I'd made his favorite dinner. Bought a special gift. I was so happy. Her voice cracked, but she pushed through. Instead, I found out about the affair. We fought. He told me I was worthless, that he'd outgrown me, that I was dead weight. And then he said he was filing for divorce. I told him about the baby, and he told me to get rid of it. That afternoon, I started bleeding. I drove myself to the hospital. The doctor said the miscarriage was stress-induced. I lost our baby because of what he said to me. Emma was crying openly now. Tyler's face had gone pale, his hands clenched into fists. Big Jim's face went white with rage. He doesn't know? I never got the chance to tell him I'd lost it. And now, Kate's voice turned to steel. He never will. That's my pain, my loss, my child who died, mine. He doesn't get to know what he cost me. That's a grief he doesn't get to share. Then let's make him pay for what he does know he did, Becca said quietly. Let's make him pay for every cruel word, every dismissal, every moment he made you feel small. Kate looked at each of them. Her father, who'd built an empire. Her brother, who'd expanded it. Her lawyer, who'd protected it. Her children, who deserved to see their mother fight back. The dynasty she'd hidden from for 15 years because she'd wanted to be loved for herself, not her money. Burn it down, Kate said, all of it. Everything he built on my family's back. I want to watch it crumble, and then I want him to know exactly who did it to him. That's my girl, Big Jim said with fierce pride. Now let's show Derek Holloway what happens when you betray a Morrison. Derek Holloway sat at the head of the Socialverse conference table 3 days later, confidence radiating from every pore. The emergency board meeting had been called because of some client concerns, but Derek wasn't worried. Goldman Sachs was still projecting a $2 billion valuation for the IPO. In 3 weeks, he'd be a paper billionaire. Life was perfect. Life was better than perfect. Scarlett was amazing. She understood him in ways Kate never had. She celebrated his wins instead of quietly supporting from the sidelines. She was passionate and exciting and made him feel young again. Made him feel like the winner he'd always known he was. All right, team, Derek said, leaning back in his chair at the head of the table. I know there's been some noise about the divorce and the new relationship. I want to address that head on. My personal life is evolving, but my commitment to Socialverse and our mission remains absolute. We're on track for the biggest tech IPO of the year. Our social media analytics platform is revolutionary. Our client base is rock solid. Goldman Sachs is ready to move forward. Nothing's changed except my happiness level. A few uncomfortable chuckles around the table. Marcus Washington, his co-founder and CTO, wouldn't meet his eyes. Actually, Derek, that's why we're here, Marcus said quietly. Things have changed. Derek's smile faded. What do you mean? His assistant, Julia, burst through the conference room door, her face pale, tablet clutched in her shaking hands. Derek, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but Morrison Oil just sent this. You need to see it now. She handed him the tablet. Derek scanned the legal document, his smile evaporating with each word he read. What the hell? They're canceling? That's a $40 million annual contract. This has to be a mistake. Marcus was already on his laptop, his expression darkening. It's not a mistake. I just got an email from Austin Medical Group. They're invoking the 30-day termination clause, too. What? Derek stood up so fast his chair rolled backward and crashed into the credenza behind him. That's impossible. We have multi-year deals with both companies. They can't just cancel. Julia's voice was barely a whisper. Texas Real Estate Network just sent the same notice. And Dallas Tech Consortium. Derek felt the room start to spin. That's $65 million in annual revenue? Who the hell is doing this? Marcus, Get me the client relationship managers on the phone right now. Marcus wasn't listening. He was typing frantically, pulling up files, his face going from shocked to horrified. Derek, listen to me. Kate's last name is Morrison. Do you know who her father is? Some oil guy in Texas. Small operation. It's not relevant. It's extremely relevant. Marcus turned his laptop around. James Morrison, founder and CEO of Morrison Oil and Land Company. Net worth $4.2 billion according to Forbes. Kate's not some housewife, Derek. She's the sole heir to one of the largest privately held companies in America. Silence filled the conference room. 5 board members stared at Derek with expressions ranging from shock to fury to fear. Board member 2, a venture capitalist named Richard Chen, who'd invested $10 million in Series B, leaned forward. Let me get this straight. You left a billionaire's daughter for an Instagram model, and you didn't think to mention this to anyone? I didn't know, Derek's voice rose defensively. She never told me. She wore yoga pants and drove a Honda Pilot. She acted like a regular housewife. Marcus pulled up more research, reading aloud from his screen. Morrison Oil and Land Company has majority stakes in 17 subsidiary companies. He looked up at Derek. Austin Medical Group? That's a Morrison subsidiary. Texas Real Estate Network? Morrison controlled. Dallas Tech Consortium? The venture capital fund is backed by Morrison money. Derek, every single major deal we landed in our first 5 years came through Morrison connections. They vouched for us, opened doors, made introductions. Because of Kate, Derek sank slowly back into his chair, realization dawning like a terrible sunrise. No, I built this company. I wrote the code. I made the pitches. You wrote brilliant code, Marcus interrupted, his voice hard. Nobody's denying that. But you didn't build this company alone. Kate opened every door you walked through. She made one phone call to her father 15 years ago, and suddenly Derek Holloway from Bakersfield was getting meetings with Fortune 500 companies. And you just slammed all those doors in her face. The next 7 days were a masterclass in corporate destruction. Monday, San Antonio Medical Services canceled. $48 million in annual contracts. Tuesday, Houston Real Estate Group canceled. $36 million. Wednesday, Dallas Southwest Development canceled. $29 million. Thursday, Oklahoma Energy Analytics canceled. $42 million. Friday, Texas Financial Services Group canceled. $51 million. Every contract with any Texas connection evaporated like morning dew under a harsh sun. By the following Monday, Socialverse had lost $196 million in annual revenue, almost 40% of their total client base, gone in 7 days. Goldman Sachs called on Tuesday. The banker's face on the video conference was apologetic but firm. Derek, I'm calling to inform you that we're pausing the IPO filing indefinitely. Your revenue projections are no longer accurate. The company fundamentals have changed dramatically in the past week. Pause? Derek felt panic clawing at his throat. We're supposed to file in 2 weeks. Everything's ready. I'm sorry. Our board won't move forward until your client retention stabilizes and you can demonstrate sustainable revenue growth that doesn't depend on the Morrison network. The risk profile has changed completely. How long? Minimum 6 months, possibly longer depending on what the next quarter looks like. The call ended. Derek sat alone in his mansion office, drinking Macallan scotch at 2 in the afternoon, watching his dream dawn in real time. His phone buzzed, a text from Scarlett. Baby, are you okay? TMZ is saying your IPO got canceled. Call me. He didn't call her. He poured another drink. Marcus found him there that evening, the bottle half empty, staring at his computer screen showing a Forbes article. Socialverse IPO on hold as major clients flee. We need to talk about Kate, Marcus said, closing the door behind him. What about her? You need to call her. Tonight. Apologize. Beg her to stop this. Offer her anything she wants. Because Derek, if this continues for another month, we won't have a company left to save. Derek laughed bitterly, the sound hollow. Kate doesn't have this kind of power. She's just a housewife. She drove carpool. She arranged flowers. Wake the hell up! Marcus's voice rose, frustration boiling over. Her family built half of Texas. Morrison Oil donated $50 million to UT Austin last year. They sit on the boards of 8 Fortune 500 companies. Big Jim Morrison is personal friends with 2 senators, the governor of Texas, and half the billionaires in Dallas. Kate's not some scorned housewife getting petty revenge. She's a dynasty, and you pissed her off in the worst possible way. Derek stared at his best friend, the truth finally penetrating his alcohol-soaked denial. He'd built his entire company on sand. Kate had been the bedrock, and he'd kicked it out from under himself because she didn't stroke his ego enough, because she wore comfortable clothes, because she'd chosen to be a mother instead of chasing her own ambitions. "What do I do?" Derek asked. And for the first time in his adult life, he had no plan, no angle, no pitch. Marcus shook his head slowly. "Pray she shows mercy, because right now you're watching everything we built disappear. And it's entirely your fault. You didn't just cheat on your wife, Derek. You betrayed the woman who made your entire life possible. And now she's taking it all back." That night, Derek tried calling Kate. The call went straight to voicemail. Her voice, calm and professional. "You've reached Kate Morrison. Please leave a message." Morrison, not Morrison Holloway. She'd already changed her voicemail. He tried texting. No response. He drove to their Malibu house, but it was dark, empty. A realtor's sign in the yard said "Coming soon," with an agent from a high-end Beverly Hills firm. She'd vanished, taken his foundation with her, and left him to face the collapse alone. Derek sat in his car in his own driveway, locked out of his own house, and finally understood what he'd lost. Not just a wife, not just a marriage, his entire future. Los Angeles family court smelled like floor polish and crushed dreams. Kate sat next to Becca at the plaintiff's table, wearing a conservative navy dress and minimal makeup. She'd pulled her hair back in a neat bun and wore her grandmother's pearl earrings. Every inch the respectable mother. Exactly what Becca had coached her to be. But inside she was armor and steel and controlled fury. Derek sat across the aisle with Diane Rothstein, a legendary family law attorney who charged $800 an hour and had a reputation for destroying opposing parties. Diane wore Chanel and Cole calculation. She'd made a career out of representing rich men leaving their wives. Scarlett sat behind Derek in the gallery, platinum blonde hair cascading over a tight white dress that was completely inappropriate for court. She was recording everything on her phone for her Instagram stories. The bailiff had already warned her twice. Judge Patricia Walsh entered, 60 years old with steel gray hair pulled back tight, reading glasses on a chain, and the demeanor of someone who'd seen every trick and tolerated none of them. Everyone stood. "Be seated," Judge Walsh said. "We're here for preliminary custody determination in the matter of Holloway versus Morrison. Ms. Rothstein, present your case." Diane stood with practiced grace, her movements calculated for maximum impact. "Your Honor, thank you. Mr. Holloway is a successful entrepreneur who, despite recent business challenges, maintains substantial assets and provides a stable, 2-parent household environment." Yeah. Morrison Holloway, while undoubtedly well-meaning, has a documented history of clinical depression, no independent income, and has demonstrated concerning emotional instability following the dissolution of the marriage. Becca shot to her feet. "Objection. There's no evidence of instability. Exhibit A, Your Honor." Diane slid a thick document across to the bailiff, who delivered it to the judge. Therapist notes from Dr. Linda Brooks indicating that Ms. Morrison Holloway discussed suicidal ideation on 3 separate occasions. The notes document that the client expressed thoughts of ending her life, stood in her bathroom contemplating various means of suicide, and questioned whether her children would be better off without her. Kate felt her face burning. Those sessions were supposed to be sacred, confidential. She'd been working through the devastating loss of a pregnancy Derek didn't even know about, processing a betrayal that had shattered her world, trying to survive each day for her children's sake. "Those therapy records are privileged," Becca argued forcefully. "My client has a reasonable expectation of privacy. Mr. Holloway co-paid for the sessions as part of the family health insurance plan," Diane countered smoothly. "Under California law, he had legal standing to request the records, and Dr. Brooks was compelled to provide them. Furthermore, Your Honor, Ms. Morrison Holloway has no employment history spanning 15 years, no independent means of financial support, no professional credentials or licenses, and is entirely dependent on spousal support for her survival. She has no ability to provide the level of stability and resources these children require. Kate leaned toward Becca and whispered urgently, "That's not true. I have my trust fund. I have the Morrison inheritance. I have board positions." "I know," Becca whispered back, "but we can't reveal your assets yet without blowing the entire strategy. We need Derek to think he's winning until we're ready for the full reveal. Trust me." Judge Walsh frowned, looking at the documents. "Ms. Martinez, does your client have any independent income whatsoever?" "Your Honor, we're not at liberty to disclose all financial details at this preliminary hearing. The full financial picture will be presented at the final custody determination." "That sounds like a no." The judge turned to Derek. "Mr. Holloway, do you have remarks you'd like to make?" Derek stood, and Kate could see he'd practiced this. The vulnerable expression, the concerned tone, the caring ex-husband who just wants what's best for everyone. He'd probably rehearsed in front of a mirror. "Your Honor, I want to be very clear about something. I love Kate. She's the mother of my children. I'll always care about her. But she's lost right now, deeply depressed. I've tried to help her, tried to encourage her to seek proper treatment, but she refuses intensive therapy. She's not stable enough to provide the structure and guidance Tyler and Emma need during this difficult transition." "She's 24 years old." Kate couldn't help herself, the words bursting out. "Your girlfriend is 24, Judge Walsh's gavel cracked like a gunshot. "Ms. Morrison Holloway, you'll have your chance to speak when I call on you. Another outburst and I'll hold you in contempt." Derek continued, his voice maddeningly calm. "Age doesn't determine maturity or capability, Your Honor. Scarlett runs a successful multi-million-dollar skincare business. She's responsible, stable, and genuinely excited to be a positive maternal figure to Tyler and Emma. The children have adjusted remarkably well to our home. Scarlett is teaching Emma about confidence and entrepreneurship. She's helping Tyler develop his social media presence. They're thriving in ways they weren't before." Kate's heart shattered into smaller pieces. Her babies, her children who she'd nursed through chickenpox and held during nightmares and taught to ride bikes and helped with homework. A stranger was going to raise them because Kate had the audacity to be sad about losing a pregnancy and a marriage in the same devastating week. "I'm issuing temporary custody to Mr. Holloway," Judge Walsh announced, her gavel poised. "Pending full hearing in 60 days. Ms. Morrison Holloway will have supervised visitation twice weekly, 3 hours per session, with supervision provided by a court-approved monitor at Ms. Morrison Holloway's expense." The gavel fell. Final. Absolute. The end of Kate's world. "Your Honor, please." Kate stood, desperation overriding all her lawyer's coaching. "I'm their mother. I've been with them every single day of their lives. I'm not unstable. I'm grieving. There's a difference. Please don't take my children from me." "My decision is final. Court is adjourned." The judge stood and left. Just like that. 15 years of motherhood dismissed in 15 minutes. Outside the courthouse, paparazzi swarmed like locusts, cameras flashing so fast it looked like lightning. Microphones thrust into Kate's face from every direction. "Kate, how does it feel to lose your kids? Is it true you had a mental breakdown? Any comment on Derek's engagement to Scarlett? Are the rumors about suicide attempts accurate?" Becca tried to shield her, pulling Kate toward the waiting town car. "No comment. Back up. Give her space." Derek emerged with Diane and Scarlett, all Hollywood smiles for the cameras. Scarlett waved like royalty, her massive diamond engagement ring catching the sunlight, designed to be photographed. Her white dress practically glowed. She dressed for maximum visual impact. "I'm just grateful the court recognized what's best for my children," Derek said smoothly to the cluster of reporters. "This has been difficult for everyone, but Tyler and Emma's welfare is our only priority. I hope Kate gets the help she clearly needs. We're praying for her healing." He climbed into an Escalade with Scarlett draped on his arm. They drove away toward their perfect life in their perfect mansion. Kate stood on the courthouse steps, cameras flashing, strangers shouting questions, crying in front of the entire world. Someone yelled from the crowd, "Smile, Kate!" You're trending on Twitter. She looked at her phone through blurred vision. Twitter was on fire. Derek Upgrade was trending #1 nationally. Hot wife glow up versus frumpy ex memes flooded her feed. Side-by-side photos. Scarlett in a tiny bikini on a yacht next to Kate in mom jeans and a ponytail at Tyler's soccer game. Captioned, "When you let yourself go and get replaced." Oddly, one tweet had 83,000 likes. This is why you don't let yourself go, ladies. Level up or get left. Kate Holloway is a cautionary tale. "I'm a joke," Kate whispered to Becca as they finally made it to the car. "I'm a national punchline." "No," Becca said firmly, taking Kate's arm and practically shoving her into the back seat. "You're about to be a legend. Get in. We have work to do." Kate sat alone in her rental apartment that night, 2 bedrooms in a dated complex in Santa Monica, half-unpacked boxes still stacked against the walls. The cheapest place she could find that was still in Tyler and Emma's school district, still close enough for the court-mandated supervised visits. She scrolled through her phone, unable to stop herself from watching the train wreck of her life play out across social media. Each refresh brought new humiliation. A TikTok notification popped up. Scarlett's account, 8.3 million followers. Kate clicked it. Immediately wished she hadn't. The video showed Emma, her baby girl, sitting in an unfamiliar pink bedroom that looked like a Barbie dream house had exploded. Emma was doing makeup with Scarlett, pop music playing in the background, everything bright and filtered and fake. "Hey, loves!" Scarlett's voice was aggressively chipper. "So excited to bring you this special content, teaching my new stepdaughter-to-be how to do a glow-up transformation. Emma, show them your before photo." Emma held up a photo of herself from 3 months ago. Ponytail, no makeup, natural freckles, looking exactly like Kate at that age, looking beautiful in the way real children look beautiful. "That's me being boring like my real mom," Emma said, and Kate could hear the coaching in her daughter's voice, the way she'd been told what to say. The words were a knife between Kate's ribs, a blade twisting. "Aw, babe, we don't say boring," Scarlett laughed, but didn't contradict the sentiment. "But yes, we're upgrading from basic to glamorous. Watch this transformation happen." Kate watched her 11-year-old daughter get caked in makeup that no child should wear. Foundation 3 shades too dark, false eyelashes, contour, highlight, a face that looked 25 on a body that was barely 11. Scarlett's followers left comments by the thousands. "Yas, new mom energy, real stepmom goals." Poor kid needed this glow-up so desperately. Old mom was clearly not helping. Basic Betty got replaced by Glam Goddess, natural selection. "Emma looks amazing. New mom is doing God's work." Kate threw her phone across the room. It hit the wall with a satisfying crack, the screen spider-webbing into a constellation of damage. She slid off the couch onto the floor and sobbed until her throat was raw and her chest ached and she couldn't breathe. She thought about the baby she'd lost 4 weeks ago, the third child who would never get a bedroom in any house. The pregnancy that had died because Kate's body couldn't handle the stress of Derek's cruelty. The baby she'd mourned alone while Derek was planning his Instagram reveal with his new girlfriend. She thought about Tyler and Emma, who were learning that love was conditional, that mothers were replaceable, that loyalty meant nothing in the face of money and beauty and Instagram followers. She crawled to the bathroom, opened the medicine cabinet with shaking hands, stared at the prescription bottles lined up like little soldiers waiting for orders. Pain medication from the miscarriage, sleeping pills, anti-anxiety medication Dr. Brooks had prescribed, antidepressants she'd started taking 2 weeks ago. It would be so easy, so quiet. Just go to sleep and not wake up. The pain would stop, the humiliation would end. Tyler and Emma would be fine, better than fine. They had Derek and Scarlett and a mansion and unlimited money. What did they need with a depressed mother who'd lost custody anyway? Kate reached for the bottles with shaking hands, started unscrewing caps. Her phone rang from the living room, the broken screen somehow still functional. The ringtone kept going, insistent. She ignored it. It stopped. Rang again, and again, 4 times. 5. Finally, she crawled back to the living room and looked at the shattered screen. Dad, calling for the 6th time. She answered, her voice barely audible. Daddy. Katie, where are you? Becca just called, said you left the courthouse 3 hours ago, and you're not answering texts, and she's worried sick. I can't do this. Kate's words came out broken, jagged. I lost. He won. He took everything that mattered. My kids, my dignity. I'm a meme, Daddy. People are laughing at me, making jokes. Emma's calling me boring on TikTok with 8 million people watching. Tyler won't return my calls. I have nothing left. Baby, where are you right now? Tell me exactly where you are. I'm in my bathroom. I'm looking at pills. A lot of pills. And I'm thinking maybe everyone would be better off if I just took them all and went to sleep and didn't wake up. Kate Elizabeth Morrison. Big Jim's voice cut through her despair like a blade, sharp and commanding. You listen to me right now. You are not doing this. You hear me? You are a Morrison. We don't quit. We don't break. We don't let anyone tell us we're not enough. And we sure as hell don't let some garage-born wannabe who married up tell us our worth. Daddy, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of fighting, of hurting, of being alone. I know, baby. I know you're tired. I know you lost a baby and nobody knows about it except us. I know you're hurting in ways that man can't even comprehend because he's too damn selfish to see past his own reflection. But Katie, you listen to me. Listen to your daddy. You got 2 kids who need their mama, not perfect, not glamorous, not Instagram filtered. You, the real woman who taught Emma to read when she was 4, who built Tyler that treehouse with your own hands, who showed up for every soccer game and science fair and parent-teacher conference while Derek was too busy being important. Kate sobbed into the phone, her whole body shaking. They don't need me anymore. They have her now. She's better, younger, prettier, more fun. That Instagram girl ain't their mama. You are. And one day, probably sooner than you think, they're going to remember who actually loved them, who actually showed up. But Katie, they can't remember you if you're not here. You understand me? They need you alive, fighting, being their example of strength. I don't know how to fight anymore. I'm drowning. Yes, you do. You're my daughter. Fighting is in your blood, in your bones. You just forgot for 15 years because you were too busy holding up a man who didn't deserve you, making him feel big by making yourself small. Big Jim's voice softened. Baby girl, I'm getting on my plane right this second. I'll be there in 3 hours. But I need you to promise me you'll still be there when I arrive. I need you to put those pills down, walk out of that bathroom, and wait for me. Can you do that? Kate looked at herself in the mirror. Mascara streaked down her face in black rivers, hair tangled and wild. Red-rimmed eyes, a woman at the absolute end of her rope, holding on by threads. She thought about Tyler and Emma, about never seeing them graduate, never meeting their future spouses, never holding grandchildren, never getting justice for what Derek had done. She put the pills back in the cabinet one by one, closed the door. I'll be here, Daddy. That's my girl. Now splash some cold water on your face, drink a glass of water, and wait for me. We got work to do. Important work. You hear me? Kate hung up. She walked back to the living room and sat on the floor with her back against the couch. She pulled out her cracked phone and looked at the TikTok of Emma one more time. This time, she noticed something she'd missed before. In the background, barely visible through the bedroom doorway, Tyler stood watching. He wasn't smiling. His arms were crossed. He looked uncomfortable, angry. Janelle, her son, still on her side, still seeing through the performance. Kate stood up slowly. She walked to the bathroom sink and splashed cold water on her face until the mascara washed away, and she could see her own eyes clearly. Get up, Catherine, she told her reflection. Your kids need you. Your daddy's coming. Get up and fight. She was still standing there staring at herself, finding her strength, when Big Jim Morrison arrived 3 hours later with Jackson and Becca, pulled her into his arms, and reminded her what it meant to be a dynasty. We're not done, Big Jim said firmly. Not even close. That man took your kids. We're taking his empire. He humiliated you publicly. We're going to make him infamous. He called you dead weight. We're going to show him what real power looks like. You ready? Kate wiped her eyes, straightened her spine. I'm ready. Then let's go to war. Derek met Scarlett for dinner at Nobu Malibu 8 weeks after his company started hemorrhaging clients. The stress was showing in ways he couldn't hide anymore. He'd lost 15 pounds he couldn't afford to lose, aged 5 years and 2 months, started drinking every night to fall asleep and every morning to face the day. The IPO was indefinitely postponed. Goldman Sachs had withdrawn completely. 3 board members had resigned. Marcus was openly talking about selling the company for parts or finding an acquirer before there was nothing left to sell. But Scarlett made it better. She believed in him when everyone else had doubts. She supported him when Marcus started suggesting Derek step down as CEO. She made him feel like a winner when every mirror showed him a failure. "I'm sorry I've been so distant and stressed," Derek said, reaching across the table to take her hand. "The business situation is more complicated than I expected." Scarlett squeezed his hand, her touch warm and reassuring. Her nails were perfectly manicured, the exact shade of pink the Instagram algorithm favored. "Baby, I get it. I totally understand. This is just temporary turbulence. You're brilliant. Social versus revolutionary. You just need time and resources to weather this storm. The IPO will happen, just later than planned." She pulled out her phone and showed him a spreadsheet with numbers that made Derek's eyes widen with hope for the first time in weeks. "My skincare line, Valencia Glow, the acquisition is closing next week. $8 million. After taxes and fees, I'm getting $5 million in cash." She smiled, leaning forward so her cleavage was visible. "The move calculated. And I want to invest it in social verse, in you, in us, in our future together." Derek stared at the spreadsheet, tears filling his eyes. "Scarlett, I can't ask you to do that. It's too risky. If the company doesn't turn around..." "You're not asking. I'm offering. Because I love you. Because I believe in you when nobody else does. Because I'm going to be your wife, and your success is my success. We're a team now, baby, for better or worse. And $5 million is just the beginning. Once your IPO happens, we'll both be billionaires." No one had believed in him like this in years. Kate had always been supportive, but in that quiet, background way that never felt like real enthusiasm. It was the support you gave a child learning to tie his shoes, not the worship of a woman who saw greatness. Scarlett's faith was loud and bright and intoxicating. It was exactly what Derek needed to hear. "You'd really risk everything on me?" Derek whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "It's not a risk if I know you're going to win. I can see the future, baby. You and me at the top. Scarlett and Derek Holloway. Power couple. Cover of Forbes together. The comeback story everyone's talking about." She squeezed his hand tighter. "But there's one condition. Anything. Name it." Her smile was dazzling, practiced in 10,000 selfies. "Ask me. Right now. Make it official. I need to know you're all in on us before I'm all in on your company." Derek's heart pounded. He'd been planning to propose anyway, had been carrying the ring in his pocket for 3 weeks, waiting for the perfect moment. But this felt right. Perfect timing. A business arrangement and a love story perfectly aligned. He stood up from the table and dropped to one knee right there in the crowded restaurant, pulling out the Tiffany box. Other diners turned to watch, exactly as Scarlett had known they would. "Scarlett Rose Valencia, you're the most amazing woman I've ever met. You believe in me. You see my potential. You make me want to be better. Will you marry me?" "Oh my God, yes!" Scarlett squealed loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." They kissed. Scarlett immediately pulled out her phone and went live on Instagram, angling the camera to show her ring, her face, Derek kneeling, the ocean sunset in the background. Every element perfectly composed. "He asked, we're engaged. I'm the luckiest girl alive. And I just invested $5 million in my future husband's company because when you find the one, you bet on him with everything." She turned the camera on Derek. "Say hi to your new fiancé, babe." Derek smiled for the tram, for her 4.2 million followers, for the world that was watching his redemption arc play out in real time. The comments flooded in instantly. "Congratulations. Power couple. True love always wins. Living for this energy. This is what real love looks like." We're going to be okay, Derek said, pulling Scarlett close as she ended the live stream. Better than okay, Scarlett replied, kissing him again for the cameras that were definitely still recording. We're going to be legendary. The $5 million from Scarlett bought Derek time. Real time. He paid critical vendors who'd been threatening to sue, made 3 months of payroll, kept the lights on at the office, caught up on the mortgage payment he'd missed on the Malibu house. Brand partnerships followed Scarlett's investment. Her Instagram presence brought opportunities Derek hadn't considered. Architectural Digest wanted a mansion spread. Good Morning America booked them for a morning show segment about power couples and blended families. Scarlett was positioning them as the ultimate comeback story. So you two found love in the midst of chaos, the GMA host said, smiling at the camera with practiced warmth. Scarlett, you've invested your entire acquisition payout into Derek's company. That's quite a statement of faith. Scarlett beamed, her hand resting possessively on Derek's knee. Authenticity is everything to me and my followers. We're living our truth, not settling for comfortable or convenient, choosing passion and potential. Derek is going to change the world with social verse. I'm just honored to be part of that journey. Derek squeezed her hand, thinking about Kate and her yoga pants and her quiet disappointment. Marcus had been completely wrong. He didn't need Kate or her family's money. He had Scarlett, and she was everything Kate wasn't. Young, ambitious, beautiful, a woman who understood what it took to win in this world. But 6 weeks later, a certified letter arrived from City National Bank. Derek opened it in his home office while Scarlett was at a photo shoot in downtown Los Angeles. He read it twice, then a third time, hoping somehow the words would magically change. Notice of default. Failure to remit payment on mortgage note for property located at 32500 Pacific Coast Highway, Malibu, California, 90265. 3 consecutive payments missed totaling $124,500. Full payment of outstanding balance of $8,200 required within 90 days or foreclosure proceedings will commence. Scarlett! Derek's voice echoed through the empty mansion. She appeared 20 minutes later, yoga mat under her arm, looking annoyed at the interruption of her routine. What, babe? I'm literally in the middle of my core workout. This better be important. The bank is foreclosing on the house. Scarlett's face went pale beneath her spray tan. She set down her yoga mat with deliberate care. What? How is that possible? You said you owned this place outright. I do own it, but I mortgaged it 3 years ago to fund the Series C investment round. With all the contract losses, I've missed 3 payments. They're calling the full loan. How much do you owe them? Derek's voice was barely audible. $8,200,000. Derek! Scarlett's voice rose to a shriek that probably carried to the neighbors. I gave you $5 million 2 months ago. Where did it go? Where's my money? Operations, payroll, vendors who were threatening to sue, keeping the company alive. I can fix this. I just need to call the bank, negotiate an extension. You're going to lose this house? Scarlett grabbed her phone, already typing frantically. The one I've been posting about for 3 months? The one I've shown to 12 million people? My entire followers think we're rich, Derek. They think we're living this amazing luxury lifestyle. We are rich. It's just a temporary cash flow issue. Once we land a few new clients... Oh my God. Scarlett's face changed as realization dawned, horror and calculation warring in her expression. You're going broke. Your company is failing. This mansion isn't even really yours anymore. The IPO is never happening. That's not true. Scarlett, please. I need to call my publicist immediately. She was already walking away, typing rapidly on her phone. I need to do damage control before this hits TMZ. My brand can't be associated with failure. What about us? Derek called after her desperately. What about our engagement? What about believing in me? She didn't answer. The bedroom door slammed hard enough to rattle the windows. Derek stood alone in his $8 million house that he was about to lose and felt the walls closing in from every direction. 4 weeks later, Derek was packing boxes in the bedroom when Scarlett found him. The foreclosure was 2 weeks away. He tried everything. Refinancing was impossible with the company in freefall. New investors wouldn't return his calls. Bridge loan applications were rejected within hours. Every door had slammed in his face. Scarlett walked into the bedroom, and Derek noticed immediately that she was glowing in a way that had nothing to do with her skincare line. Radiant, happy, the way she looked in her most popular Instagram posts. "Derek, baby, sit down. I have news." He lowered himself onto the edge of the bed, surrounded by half-packed boxes. "What is it?" "I'm pregnant." The world stopped spinning. Derek stared at her, his brain refusing to process the words for several long seconds. "You're what?" Scarlett's smile was enormous, but something about it didn't reach her eyes. "We're having a baby. I took 4 tests. Went to the doctor yesterday. It's real. We're going to be parents." Derek stood, tears streaming down his face, all the stress and fear momentarily forgotten. "A baby. Scarlett, this is amazing. This changes everything." He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. A child, his child, a fresh start. Everything else could fall apart, but he'd have this. A new family. A baby who wouldn't remember the failure, who would only know the comeback story. "This changes everything," he repeated into her hair. "We'll downsize. Move to a smaller place. Maybe Manhattan Beach or Redondo. Start over as a family. Raise this baby together. I'll make it work. I promise." Scarlett pulled back slowly. The smile faded from her face like someone had flipped a switch. "Actually, Derek, we need to talk about that." Something in her tone made Derek's stomach drop to his feet. "Talk about what?" "The baby. It's not yours." Time fractured. Derek heard the words but couldn't connect them to meaning. They made no sense in any language he understood. "What did you just say?" "I've been seeing someone else, Prince Khalid Al Rashid, from Dubai. We met at a charity gala in Beverly Hills 2 months ago. He's the father of my baby." "You've been cheating on me?" Derek's voice came out strangled, barely human. "While we were engaged? While you took my money?" "Derek, please try to understand. I needed security. When we got together, you were this big, successful tech CEO about to go public. You had a mansion, you were on Forbes, but then everything fell apart. The contracts disappeared, the IPO got canceled. I started to realize you weren't who I thought you were. I proposed to you. You took my ring. You took $5 million. And I invested it in your company. I tried to make it work. I really did try, Derek." Scarlett's voice turned cold now, businesslike. "But you're going broke. This house is being foreclosed on in 2 weeks. Your company is worth nothing. And Khalid is offering me a life you never could. Actual royalty, actual wealth that doesn't evaporate when the market shifts. A real future." "Get out!" Derek roared. "Get the fuck out of my house." "Technically, it's the bank's house," Scarlett said calmly, already picking up her designer purse. "And Derek, my lawyers will be contacting you about returning the $5 million. I invested in a viable company. What you have now is fraud. That money is gone, all of it. You want your money back? Get in line behind the bank and the vendors and everyone else I owe. Then I guess you have bigger problems than I thought." Scarlett walked toward the door, her heels clicking on the marble floor. "You know what your real problem was, Derek? You're not actually special. You were just lucky enough to marry someone whose family had real power. And you were too stupid and arrogant to appreciate what you had. Kate was your golden ticket, and you threw it away for me. That makes you the biggest idiot I've ever met." The door slammed. Derek stood in his empty bedroom, surrounded by half-packed boxes and broken dreams, and felt the last piece of his life crumble to dust. That night, he drank bourbon, straight from the bottle, and watched Scarlett's Instagram post go viral in real time. The photo was professionally shot, perfectly lit. Scarlett in a flowing designer maternity dress that probably cost $10,000, holding hands with a handsome man in traditional Arab dress. They stood in front of what looked like a palace. The caption read, "Sometimes the universe redirects you to where you're meant to be. I'm grateful for every chapter and every lesson. But this is my true love story. Baby daddy reveal. Welcome to your new life, Princess Scarlett. Dubai bound, new beginnings, blessed beyond measure. True love wins." 14 million likes in 2 hours. Comments flooded in faster than Derek could read them. "OMG, a real prince. You upgraded from the upgrade." Wait, wasn't she engaged to that tech bro whose company failed? She literally went from bankruptcy to palace life. Icon behavior. Poor Derek lost his billionaire wife for this girl, and she left him for a prince. You can't write this. Derek's phone exploded with notifications. Texts from Marcus saying everyone at school was making fun of Tyler. His lawyer asking if the Scarlet investment could be recovered. His mother calling from Bakersfield, asking if the rumors were true. A TMZ notification lit up his screen. Tech CEO dumped and duped. Fiancé's baby belongs to Saudi prince. Demands $5 back. Derek threw his phone across the room. It shattered against the wall, screen going dark. He sank to the floor of his $45 million house that would belong to the bank in 12 days and sobbed like a child. Kate, he whispered to the empty room, to the ghost of his marriage. Oh God, Kate, you were right about everything. I'm so sorry. But Kate wasn't there to hear him. And even if she had been, it was far too late for sorry. 4 months after Scarlett left him for Middle Eastern royalty, Derek Holloway sat in the back row of Sotheby's luxury real estate auction house wearing a baseball cap pulled low and sunglasses hiding eyes that hadn't seen a full night's sleep in weeks. The hoodie was a pathetic disguise for a man who'd once graced the cover of Forbes, but Derek was beyond caring about appearances or dignity. He had $5 million left, his absolute last reserves liquidated from retirement accounts with massive penalties. He'd come here hoping to buy back his house at a discount, snatch it up for maybe 10 or 12 million, then turn around and sell it privately for closer to its real value. One last play, one last chance to salvage something from the wreckage. The auction house buzzed with the quiet energy of the wealthy preparing to acquire another trophy. 200 bidders filled the Malibu showroom. Derek recognized several billionaires, a few celebrities, multiple real estate developers. Everyone dressed in the casual uniform of California money, expensive jeans, subtle watches worth six figures, confidence that came from never having to check account balances. The auctioneer, a silver-haired British man whose accent suggested old money in Oxford, stepped to the podium with the bearing of someone conducting a symphony rather than an auction. Ladies and gentlemen, we now present Lot 47, the crown jewel of Malibu's Gold Coast, a true architectural masterpiece. Images flashed on dual screens flanking the podium. Derek's mansion in all its glass and marble glory, photographed at sunset to maximize dramatic impact. 12,000 square feet of oceanfront paradise that he'd spent 3 years designing, every detail a testament to what he'd thought was his genius. 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms, infinity pool seamlessly integrated with the ocean view, private beach access, smart home technology throughout, wine cellar for 300 bottles, home theater, gym, and spa facilities. The auctioneer continued. Built in 2022 by technology visionary Derek Holloway, featured in Architectural Digest, a true masterpiece of contemporary California design. Derek's hands trembled in his lap. That masterpiece had cost him everything. His marriage, his company, his self-respect, his entire future. And now it was being sold off like a used car. Opening bid, $15 million. Derek's stomach clenched. He'd been hoping for 10 million. 15 put it out of reach immediately. An older man in the front row raised his paddle without hesitation. 15 million. A voice crackled over the phone bank speakers, bidders calling in from other countries. 16 million from bidder 47. Derek watched helplessly as the numbers climbed. 17 million, 18 million, 19 million. His last 5 million suddenly felt pathetically small, a child's allowance at an adult's game. 22 million to bidder 12 on the floor, 23 million to phone bidder 47. The room fell silent, waiting. Derek held his breath, hoping against hope. Do I hear 24 million? The auctioneer scanned the crowd with practiced patience. Going once at 23 million. Derek closed his eyes. Maybe losing the house was for the best. Maybe it was time to let go of everything. File bankruptcy, start over, move back to Bakersfield, learn to be humble again. Going twice at 23 million. The double doors at the back of the auction house burst open with a bang that made everyone in the room turn. She walked in like she owned not just the property but the entire building, the city, the world itself. Navy Armani power suit that fit like it was tailored on her body, because it absolutely was. Heels clicking against marble with the precision of a metronome ticking down to judgment. Hair pulled back in a sleek bun that transformed her face from housewife to CEO. Diamond earrings that caught the light and threw it back magnified. Makeup that highlighted cheekbones Derek had kissed 10,000 times. She looked like old money and new power, like royalty and revenge. Kate Morrison looked nothing like the woman he'd married 15 years ago. Nothing like the mousy housewife he'd left 7 months earlier. Nothing like the woman who'd worn yoga pants and driven carpool and faded into the background of his important life. She looked like a dynasty awakened. $30 million. Her voice carried across the room without effort, clear as crystal, strong as steel, final as death. The room erupted in gasps and excited whispers. Derek stood up so fast his chair tipped backward with a crash that echoed through the sudden silence. Everyone turned to look at him, registering his presence for the first time, then swiveled back to Kate. The drama was delicious, the former spouses facing off. The auction house couldn't have scripted better theater. "We have 30 million from the floor." The auctioneer's professional composure cracked slightly with excitement. This was a story he'd tell for years. "Madam, are you registered to bid?" Catherine Elizabeth Morrison, bidder 118. A woman in an equally impressive suit stepped forward from behind Kate, Rebecca Martinez, looking like she dressed to destroy. "My attorney has the complete documentation and proof of funds." Derek's legs gave out. He grabbed the chair in front of him to keep from collapsing completely onto the floor. "Proof of funds confirmed," the auctioneer announced after reviewing documents that Becca handed to the bailiff. "Current bid stands at $30 million. That's $7 million over the previous bid. Any advance on $30 million?" Silence. Complete, absolute silence. No one was bidding against Kate Morrison. No one with any sense would. Derek tried to speak, tried to shout, tried to do anything, but his voice had abandoned him along with his fortune, his fiancée, his company, and his dignity. Going once at $30 million. The gavel rose slowly, dramatically. Going twice at $30 million. Derek watched the gavel reach its apex, hanging there for one frozen moment where his entire world balanced on a knife's edge. "Sold to Miss Morrison for $30 million. The bang of wood on wood sounded like a gunshot, like an execution, like the end of everything. Derek's knees buckled. He fell back into his seat, the room spinning around him, oxygen suddenly in short supply. Other bidders were standing, craning to see both Kate and Derek, sensing the personal drama, loving every second. Kate walked towards him through the parting crowd, and Derek was reminded of Moses parting the Red Sea. People literally stepped aside to let her pass. When she reached his row, she stopped and looked directly at him for the first time since she'd entered. Up close, he could see she'd lost weight. See the steel in her eyes that hadn't been there before. See the woman he'd never bothered to know because he had been too busy assuming she was simple. "Hello, Derek," she said quietly, her voice carrying only to him. "We need to talk." Then she turned and walked toward the private settlement rooms at the back of the auction house, Becca following like a general's lieutenant. Big Jim Morrison emerged from the crowd. Derek hadn't even seen him there, wearing a suit that probably cost what Derek's car had cost, looking like the oil baron he was. Jackson Morrison appeared as well, younger but with the same energy, the same power. The Morrison dynasty. The family Derek had unknowingly married into and then betrayed in the most public, humiliating way possible. He stood on shaking legs and followed them, feeling every eye in the room tracking his walk of shame. The private conference room was all leather and mahogany and the smell of money that had been money for generations. Derek sat alone on one side of the massive table. Kate, Big Jim, Jackson, and Becca sat on the other side like a panel of judges at his trial. "Why?" Derek's voice shook, all pretense of strength gone. Why did you do this?" "I bought a property at auction," Kate said calmly, folding her hands on the table. "Pretty standard real estate transaction." Happens every day. For double what it's worth, you did this to humiliate me, to destroy me. Big Jim leaned forward, his presence filling the room despite his stillness. Son, if she wanted to humiliate you, she'd have let TMZ know she was coming and brought 50 photographers. If she wanted to destroy you, she'd have bought this property for $1 and announced to the press it was overpriced even at that. This is business and a lesson, but mostly it's justice. Derek turned to Kate, desperation bleeding into every word. Please, don't take the house. The kids love it. Emma's room with the ocean view, Tyler's gaming setup in the bonus room. They have friends in the neighborhood. It's their home. No, Derek. Kate's voice was steel-wrapped in silk, sharp enough to cut. It was your monument, your temple to ego. Tyler told me last week that he cries every night missing our old house. The one in Santa Monica with the yard where you built him that treehouse when he was 5. You remember that house? The one where we were actually happy? The one you sold so you could buy this glass monstrosity? I was building something great, creating a legacy. You were building ego, Kate interrupted, her words precise as surgery. You were creating a monument to yourself, and you built it on my family's foundation without even knowing it. Jackson slid a document across the polished table. Derek, the mortgage on this property was approved because Kate co-signed. Did you know that? Derek stared at the paper in front of him. At paragraph 12B, subsection 3, co-signer, Catherine E. Morrison Holloway. Net worth verification, Morrison Family Trust, guarantor status, primary. You co-signed? You didn't read your own mortgage documents, Kate said, and Derek could hear the disappointment beneath her words. You just signed where your lawyer told you to sign, just like you didn't ask where your clients came from, or why doors opened for you. You assumed it was your brilliance, your charm, your revolutionary code. I thought I did it myself, Derek whispered. You thought a lot of things that weren't true, Kate said. You thought you were self-made. You thought I was dead weight. You thought you could trade me in for a younger model and everything would be fine. You were wrong about all of it. Big Jim's voice carried the weight of generations. What happens to a house with no foundation, son? Derek couldn't answer. The truth was crushing him from the inside out, collapsing his lungs, stopping his heart. What are you going to do with it? He finally managed to ask. Tear it down, Jackson said simply, as if discussing the weather. What? Derek stood up so fast his chair shot backward. You can't just tear it down. That house is worth $45 million. You can't. I can and I will, Kate said. I'm donating the property to the California Coastal Conservancy. They'll restore the native ecosystem that your construction destroyed. They'll create a public beach. Free access for everyone. Families from Compton can bring their kids. Families from Beverly Hills can bring theirs. No gates, no membership fees, no exclusivity, just ocean and sand and equality. You're going to destroy everything I built? Derek's voice rose to a shout. I spent 3 years designing every detail. Award-winning architects, structural engineers. That house won awards. And it's ugly, Derek. Kate's words cut clean and final. It's a glass and marble middle finger to everyone who couldn't afford a piece of Malibu. It's a monument to greed and ego. So yes, I'm tearing it down. And in its place, there will be a beach where any child can build sandcastles and watch sunsets and feel the ocean. A place where wealth doesn't determine access, where everyone belongs. You're only doing this because you hate me. Kate's voice cut through his protest like a scalpel through tissue. I don't hate you, Derek. I pity you. You had everything. A woman who loved you when you were nobody, when you were just a mechanic's son from Bakersfield with big dreams. 2 beautiful children who thought you hung the moon and stars. A family, real connection, unconditional love. And you traded it all for a woman who left you the second your bank account ran dry. For a lifestyle you couldn't actually afford. For Instagram likes and magazine covers and the appearance of success. She leaned forward, and Derek saw something in her eyes that made him want to disappear. Not anger, something worse. Profound disappointment. You didn't lose because I destroyed you, Kate continued. You lost because you destroyed yourself. I just stopped being your foundation. And without me holding you up, the whole thing collapsed under its own weight. That's not my fault. That's yours. Derek buried his face in his hands. 7 months of consequences crashing down at once, drowning him. I'm sorry, Kate. I'm so incredibly sorry for everything. The affair, the Instagram post, taking the kids, calling you dead weight. I was cruel. I was wrong. I was so wrong about everything. Yes, you were. Can we? Derek looked up, tears streaming freely now. Is there any way to fix this? Any path back to any kind of relationship? Back to what? A marriage? What the hell? Kate's laugh was bitter. No, that's dead. I grieved it. I buried it. It's over. Then what? You just destroy everything I built and walk away? Kate stood, and Big Jim and Jackson stood with her, a united front. Becca gathered her files with the efficiency of someone who'd done this many times before. I'm not destroying what you built, Kate said. I'm removing what I built that you were standing on. There's a difference. If you had any real talent, any real vision beyond ego and appearance, you'll figure out how to build something that doesn't require my family's money to succeed. What about Tyler and Emma? Derek asked, his voice breaking. Can I still see them? Please, they're all I have left. Kate paused at the door, her hand on the handle. A long moment of silence where Derek's entire future hung in the balance. I'm not a monster, she finally said. You can see Tyler and Emma every weekend, but there are non-negotiable conditions. Anything. I'll do anything. You get therapy, real therapy with someone who specializes in narcissistic personality disorders. You work on understanding what you did and why it was wrong. You acknowledge your behavior to our children. You apologize to them for the Instagram post, for parading Scarlett in front of them, for making them choose sides. And you never, ever speak poorly about me to them again. Not once. Not ever. Yes, I promise. I'll do all of that. And one more thing. Kate's voice went cold as winter. The $8 million you took from our joint account 3 years ago to fund your Series C round, that was my inheritance from my grandmother Morrison. Money she left specifically to me. I want it back. Kate, it's gone. It went into the company. Then you owe me $8 million plus interest. She nodded to Becca, who produced another document. Every dollar you make from now on, half is mine until the debt is fully repaid, with 6% annual interest compounded monthly. This is a legally binding promissory note. Sign it or I file criminal charges for theft, fraud, and embezzlement. Your choice. You have 60 seconds. Derek picked up the pen with trembling hands. What choice did he have? He signed his name, legally binding himself to years of repayment, and wondered how he'd fallen so far. One last thing, Kate said softly, her voice barely above a whisper, but somehow filling the room. Do you remember our second date? We drove to Malibu after studying for finals. We sat on the beach right where your house stands now, watching the sunset. You said, one day I'm going to own this view, and I'm going to marry a woman who believes in me enough to help me get there. Do you remember? Derek nodded through tears, the memories sharp as broken glass. I believed in you. I called my father the next week. I said, Daddy, I met someone special. He's going to do big things, but he needs a chance. He needs doors to open. My father said you were too risky. A mechanic's son from Bakersfield with no connections, no family wealth, no pedigree. I said, he's my risk to take. I love him. Please help him. So he made the calls. Morrison Oil became your first major client. That opened the door to Austin Medical Group. That led to Texas Real Estate Network. Every domino that fell in your favor? I pushed over the first one, Derek. I loved you so much. I gave you your dreams. Her voice didn't waver, didn't break. Pure steel. And you thanked me by calling me dead weight, by publicly humiliating me in front of 800,000 people, by taking my children, by telling me to get rid of our baby. She paused, letting that last part sink in. So now you get to build your empire the way you always claimed you did. Alone. Self-made. No Morrison money, no Morrison connections, no Morrison foundation. Let's see how far you get when you actually have to do it yourself. She walked out, The door closed with a gentle click that sounded like the end of the world. Derek collapsed onto the table, his forehead hitting the polished wood, and wept for everything he'd lost and everything he'd never actually earned. 6 months later, on a perfect California morning, Kate stood at the opening ceremony for Morrison Family Beach. Where Derek's mansion had stood, there was now a beautiful public beach with restored native plants, walking paths winding through the dunes, a playground nestled in the hillside, public restrooms, outdoor showers, and lifeguard stations. The gates were gone. The exclusivity was gone. The beach belonged to everyone now. Families filled the sand. Kids from Compton played next to kids from Beverly Hills. Nobody cared who had money and who didn't. Everyone was equal in front of the ocean. Tyler and Emma ran along the shore with their friends, laughing. Real laughter, not the performative, Instagram kind, just kids being kids. "You did good, Katie," Big Jim said, standing beside his daughter, his arm around her shoulders. "I hope so. Some nights I wonder if I went too far." "You gave him exactly what he needed, not what he wanted. There's a difference. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them hit rock bottom so they can figure out who they really are without the props and the pretense." Kate's phone buzzed, a text from Derek. "Tyler has a soccer game Saturday at 10. Is it okay if I come? I won't cause any problems. I just want to watch him play." She typed back, "Of course, you're his father. He needs you there." That evening, Derek arrived at Kate's new home for their weekly pizza dinner with the kids. Not a mansion, a modest four-bedroom craftsman in Santa Monica with a front porch, a real yard, and the treehouse Derek had built for Tyler 8 years ago, still standing in the backyard. The house where their children were actually happy. "Is it okay if I come in?" Derek asked, holding 2 pizza boxes, looking uncertain. "My studio apartment is too small for all of us to eat together." Kate studied him. He looked different, thinner, older, humbler, but present in a way he hadn't been in years. He was seeing Dr. Brooks twice a week, working as a senior developer at a small startup in Culver City, making $85,000 a year, taking the bus because he'd sold his car to pay debts, living in a 400-square-foot studio in Palms. But he showed up for every soccer game now, every parent-teacher conference, every moment that mattered. "Okay, just dinner, then you need to leave." They ate pizza at the dining room table like a normal family. Tyler talked about starting forward on his soccer team and the upcoming playoffs. Emma chattered about her science project on ocean conservation, clearly inspired by the beach project. Derek listened, really listened, asked questions, laughed at their jokes, didn't check his phone even once. "You can come to the game too, Dad," Tyler said, trying to act casual but clearly pleased. "If you want to. We're playing the semifinals." Derek looked surprised, touched. "Really? You want me there?" Tyler shrugged in that way teenagers do. "You're still my dad, even if you were kind of a huge dumbass for a while." "Tyler?" Kate started. "Sorry, Mom, but he was." Derek smiled sadly, accepting the judgment. "No, you're absolutely right. I was exactly that. A huge dumbass. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry to both of you for all of it." Emma, who'd been quiet during most of dinner, finally spoke up. "Dad, Scarlett said some really mean things about Mom on her Instagram after she left. She called Mom boring and basic. That wasn't true. Mom's the smartest person I know. She just didn't care about being famous or whatever." Derek's voice was thick with emotion. "You're absolutely right, Emma. Your mother is brilliant, and I was too stupid and selfish to see it. I won't make that mistake again." After the kids went upstairs to do homework, Derek helped Kate clean up the kitchen in comfortable silence. A companionship built on ruins, but companionship nonetheless. "Thank you," he said quietly, drying dishes with the same towel they'd used in their first apartment 15 years ago, somehow surviving all the moves. "For letting me be here, for not completely destroying me when you had every right to. I know I don't deserve any of this. You're their father. They need you in their life, a better version of you. But you, that's what matters." Derek nodded, picked up his jacket. "I should go. Thank you for dinner. And Kate, I know it doesn't change anything or fix anything, but I need you to know. I realize now what you gave up for me, what you sacrificed, how you made yourself small so I could feel big. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I never saw it until it was too late. Kate said nothing. There was nothing to say. Apologies didn't resurrect dead marriages or lost babies or stolen years. At the door, Derek paused one more time. Did it work? Your plan to save me from myself? Kate tilted her head, considering. Ask me in 10 years, if you are still showing up for your kids, if you've learned to be humble, if you've figured out that your worth isn't measured by your bank account or magazine covers or Instagram followers, then maybe. But that's up to you, Derek, not me. He nodded and walked down the porch steps into the Los Angeles evening. Kate watched him walk to the bus stop instead of climbing into a luxury car, watched him become a smaller, humbler version of himself. Her phone rang. Jackson. Katie, the New York Times confirmed the interview for the gallery opening next month. They want to do a profile piece. The secret billionaire who chose anonymity. Think you're ready for that? Kate Morrison's art gallery in Chelsea, opening in 4 weeks. 3 floors of carefully curated contemporary art from unknown artists who reminded her of herself, talented people who'd been overlooked because they didn't fit the expected mold, because they didn't self-promote, because they'd been told they weren't enough. I'm ready, Kate said. She hung up and walked upstairs to check on her children. Tyler was doing algebra homework with headphones on. Emma was reading a book about marine biology, already planning her future. Kate returned to her bedroom and opened the drawer of her nightstand. Inside was a small blue Tiffany box with a silver ribbon, slightly crushed now. The pregnancy test she'd never given Derek. The announcement of a child who died before being born. She looked at it one final time, this ghost of what might have been, then placed it in a wooden memory box along with her wedding ring, the Forbes magazine with Derek's face on the cover, and a photo from their second date on Malibu Beach, where Derek had promised her the stars. Pieces of a life that no longer existed. Evidence of who she'd been. Proof of how far she'd come. Memories she didn't need to carry anymore. She closed the box and put it on the top shelf of her closet. Not forgotten, but finished. Released. Then Kate Morrison walked downstairs to make Emma's lunch for tomorrow and help Tyler find his soccer cleats. To be a mother. To be herself. To be enough. Because she'd learned something Derek never had. Power wasn't about money or mansions or Instagram followers or Forbes covers. Power was about choice. The choice to be small or to take up space. The choice to destroy or to build. The choice to hold grudges or to let go. The choice to define yourself or let others define you. Kate had chosen to let go. Not forgiveness in the way Derek might want it. Not reconciliation or second chances or pretending the past didn't happen. But release. Freedom from the weight of his betrayal. Liberation from the need for revenge beyond what justice required. She'd bought his mansion for $30 million and turned it into a beach for everyone. She'd shown him what a dynasty looked like. Not tearing down men to build yourself up, but creating something that served a greater good than ego. Derek thought power was domination. Kate knew it was creation. He'd built a monument to himself. She'd built a legacy for her community. And in the end, that was the difference between someone who borrowed power and someone who was born to wield it. 2 years later, Kate stood in her Chelsea art gallery on opening night, wearing a simple black dress and her grandmother's pearls. The gallery wasn't huge, just 3 floors of exposed brick and natural light, but it was hers. Every painting, every sculpture, every photograph represented an artist who'd been told they weren't enough, weren't marketable, weren't what the industry wanted. Just like Kate had been told she wasn't enough for Derek. Ms. Morrison, a young woman from the New York Times, approached with a recorder. I'm here for the interview. Thank you for agreeing to speak with us. Kate smiled. Of course. You've been called the secret billionaire, a woman who hid her wealth for 15 years while married to tech CEO Derek Holloway. Why did you choose to hide who you were for so long? Kate thought about Derek, about 15 years of making herself small, about the moment she decided to stop. I wasn't hiding, she said carefully. I was testing something. I wanted to know if I could be loved for who I was, not what I was worth. Not for my father's money or my family's connections. Just for me, and for a long time, I got my answer. Do you regret those years? Kate looked around her gallery, at the art on the walls, at the people filling the space, at the life she created from the ashes of her marriage. No, she said firmly, no regrets. I learned something important during that time. You can spend your whole life making yourself small for someone else's comfort, or you can choose to take up space. I chose wrong for 15 years. Now I choose differently, and I'm using my privilege to create opportunities for people who don't have safety nets, because I had one. Most people don't. The reporter scribbled notes. What about your ex-husband? There are reports he's working at a small startup now for a fraction of his former salary. Do you feel any responsibility for his circumstances? Derek is rebuilding his life on an authentic foundation this time. That's between him and our children. I hope he finds peace and purpose. But his journey is his own now. Mine is mine. Do you think you'll ever forgive him for what he did? Kate paused, considering the question carefully. I already have. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean what he did was okay. It means I'm not carrying that anger anymore. I'm not letting his choices continue to define my life. Forgiveness was for me, not for him. It was about freeing myself, not absolving him. One final question. What do you want people to know about the Morrison family beach? The public beach you created from his mansion? Kate smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. I want people to know that power isn't about exclusion. It's not about building walls to keep people out. Real power is about creating access, about building something bigger than your ego, about leaving the world better than you found it. My ex-husband built a monument to himself. I turned it into a place where any child can watch the sunset, regardless of their zip code. That's the difference between borrowed power and inherited responsibility. One is about taking, the other is about giving back. The interview concluded. Kate mingled with guests, talked with artists, celebrated the opening. At midnight, she stood alone in the empty gallery, looking at a particular painting that had spoken to her. It was called Phoenix, and showed a woman rising from ashes, wings spread, eyes forward, leaving the fire behind. Her phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. Mom, I made varsity. Coach said I'm starting next game. Dad was here when I found out, and he cried, like actual tears. It was weird, but kind of nice. Love you. Kate smiled and typed back. So proud of you, baby. Tell your dad, congratulations on being present. That's growth. Love you more. Another text, this one from Emma. Mom, Mr. Peterson said my ocean conservation project is going to the state science fair. He said it's the best work he's seen in 10 years. Can you come to the presentation? Wouldn't miss it for the world. You're brilliant, sweetheart. Kate looked at the Phoenix painting one more time, then turned off the gallery lights and stepped out into the New York City night. Somewhere in Los Angeles, in a 400-square-foot studio apartment in Palms, Derek Holloway sat at a small desk coding for a startup that would probably fail but might not. He'd been sober for 8 months, in therapy for 18 months, present for his children for the first time in their lives. He looked at a photo on his desk. Tyler holding his varsity jersey, grinning. Emma with her science fair medal. Both of them happy. Both of them thriving without the mansion, without the money, without the Instagram perfect life. They were thriving because Kate had refused to let them be collateral damage. Because she'd fought for them even when it cost her everything. Because she'd shown them what real strength looked like. Derek picked up his phone and typed out a text he'd been composing in his head for months. Kate, I know you don't owe me anything and I don't expect a response. But I need you to know. I've been in therapy long enough now to understand what I did. Not just the affair or the Instagram post, but the 15 years before that. I made you invisible. I took credit for your work. I built my ego on your sacrifice, and then when you needed me most, I told you to get rid of our baby. I didn't know you lost that baby. I didn't know you grieved alone. But I should have. I should have been there. I should have been a partner. I'm sorry. Doesn't cover it. There aren't words that cover it. But I'm learning to be better for Tyler and Emma. And because you deserve better all along. Thank you for not giving up on our kids even when you had every right to give up on me. You're the strongest person I've ever known." He stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without sending. Some apologies were too late. Some damage was permanent. The best he could do now was show up, be present, be the father his children deserved, and let Kate live her life without his words cluttering her peace. He closed his laptop and walked to the small kitchen to make dinner. Pasta, simple, cheap, nothing like the catered meals and Nobu reservations of his old life, but honest, real, his. 5 years after the divorce, Kate Morrison stood on Morrison Family Beach at sunset, watching families pack up their belongings as the day ended. The beach had become wildly popular, featured in California travel guides, recognized by environmental organizations for its restoration work, but more importantly, it had become exactly what Kate intended, a place where everyone belonged. She'd come here tonight for a specific reason. Tyler had asked her to meet him here, said he had something to tell her. He was 19 now, finishing his freshman year at Stanford. Emma was 16, already talking to marine biology programs at UC San Diego and Scripps. Both of them were thriving, whole, happy. "Mom!" Tyler jogged down the beach toward her, his father walking more slowly behind him. Kate tensed slightly. She and Derek were cordial now, civil, but she still preferred boundaries, still needed distance. "What's going on?" Kate asked. Tyler took a deep breath. "I wanted both of you here because I need to say something, and I need Dad to hear it too." Derek stopped a respectful distance away, hands in his pockets, quiet. "I've been talking to my therapist at school," Tyler continued, "about the divorce, about what happened, about how I felt when everything fell apart. And I realized something, Mom. I was angry at Dad for a long time, for leaving, for the Instagram post, for Scarlett, for all of it." Derek's face showed pain, but he said nothing. "But I was also confused about why you fought so hard, Mom. Why you went after Dad's company. Why you bought the house just to tear it down. It felt like revenge, like you were trying to hurt him the way he hurt you." Kate's stomach tightened. "Tyler." "Let me finish," Tyler said gently. "I thought it was revenge. But then I started really thinking about it, about this beach, about how you didn't just destroy Dad's house out of spite. You created something that serves thousands of people. You turned his ego into access, his exclusion into inclusion. You didn't just tear him down, you built something better in his place." Tyler looked at his father now. "And Dad, you lost everything. Your company, your money, your house, everything. But you know what? You're a better father now than you ever were when you had all that stuff. You show up now, you listen, you're present. Mom didn't destroy you. She forced you to become who you should have been all along." Derek's eyes were wet. "Tyler, I'm not done." Tyler turned back to Kate. "Mom, I get it now. You didn't choose revenge. You chose justice with purpose. You showed us what real power looks like. Not tearing people down, but refusing to be small anymore. Building something meaningful. Creating legacy instead of monuments. You're my hero, Mom. Not because you are rich, because you are strong and kind. And you taught me that being hurt doesn't give you permission to hurt others. It gives you the choice to break the cycle." Kate felt tears streaming down her face. "Tyler." He hugged her. "I love you, Mom. Thank you for fighting for us. And thank you for showing me what integrity looks like." Derek stood apart from them, watching his son embrace his ex-wife, seeing clearly for perhaps the first time what he'd destroyed and what Kate had built from the ruins. "Can I say something?" Derek asked quietly. Tyler nodded and stepped back. Derek looked at Kate, really looked at her for the first time in years. "Tyler's right, about all of it. You didn't destroy me, Kate. You revealed me. You pulled away the props and the pretense and forced me to see who I actually was without your foundation holding me up. And the man you revealed was pretty ugly. Selfish, entitled, cruel." He took a breath. "But here's what Tyler doesn't know. What you never told anyone. I know about the baby now. The one you lost the day I told you to get rid of it. Emma mentioned it last year. She overheard you talking to Big Jim on the phone. She told me you were pregnant when I left you, that you lost the baby because of the stress, because of what I said to you." Kate went still. "That's secret. her grief, her private pain. I have to live with that forever, Derek continued, his voice breaking. I killed our child with my words, with my cruelty. You grieved that loss alone while I was celebrating my new relationship on Instagram. There's no apology big enough for that, no redemption possible. But I need you to know, I understand now what I cost you, and I'm sorry. I'm so incredibly sorry. The beach was nearly empty now, just the three of them and the setting sun and the waves and the truth. Kate wiped her eyes. The baby's name was Hope. I named her Hope because that's what she represented. Hope that you and I could reconnect. Hope for our future. Hope that love could overcome the distance between us. When I lost her, I lost that hope. And I was angry about that for a long time. You should have been, Derek said. You should still be. No, Kate's voice was firm. I was angry. I grieved. I processed it with my therapist and my family. And then I let it go. Not because you deserve forgiveness, but because carrying that anger was poisoning me. It was stopping me from moving forward, from being present for Tyler and Emma, from building my own life. She looked at the beach, at families, at the sun painting the sky. I named this place Morrison Family Beach, but in my heart I also named it for Hope, the daughter we lost. This beach is her legacy, a place where families come together, where children play and grow and feel the ocean. She never got to do that, but thousands of other children do, because of what I built from our loss. Derek's tears fell freely now. That's beautiful, Kate, and more grace than I deserve. It's not about what you deserve, Kate said quietly. It's about what I need to be whole, and I need to let go of what happened, not forget it, not pretend it didn't shape me, but release it so I can be present for the life I'm living now. Tyler looked between his parents. Are you guys ever going to be friends? Kate and Derek both smiled sadly. No, Kate said, we're not friends, but we're Tyler and Emma's parents, and we're both committed to showing up for you. That's enough. More than enough, Derek agreed. Tyler nodded. Okay, that's what I needed to hear. I just wanted to know that we're going to be okay. All of us, in our own ways. We're going to be okay, Kate confirmed, pulling her son close. Better than okay. Derek watched them for a moment, then said quietly, I should go. Thank you for meeting me here, Kate. And Tyler, I'll see you next weekend for your birthday dinner. Yeah, Dad. See you then. Derek walked away across the sand, a man who had lost everything and found something more valuable in the process. Humility, presence, purpose. Kate and Tyler stood together, watching the sunset, mother and son, survivors of the same storm. Mom, Tyler asked, do you think Dad will ever really be happy? Kate considered the question. I think Derek is learning that happiness isn't about money or success or Instagram followers. It's about being at peace with who you are. He's not there yet, but he's trying, and that's more than he was doing 5 years ago. Do you think you'll ever get married again? Kate laughed. Maybe, someday, if I meet someone who loves me for me. Not for the Morrison name or the money, just for Kate. But I'm not looking. I'm happy with my life as it is. My children, my gallery, my work, my peace, that's enough. They walked back to the parking lot together. Kate drove Tyler back to her house. Not a mansion, but a real home with a front porch and a backyard and memories that didn't hurt, where Emma was waiting with takeout and stories about her day. That night, after both kids were asleep, Kate sat on her front porch with a glass of wine and looked at the stars. Her phone rang. Big Jim. How'd it go tonight? Her father asked. Good. Tyler wanted to talk about the divorce, about understanding why I did what I did. I think he gets it now. That's my grandson, smart like his mama. And Derek? Derek is trying to be better. That's all I can ask. You know I'm proud of you, Katie. What you built from all that pain, the beach, the gallery, the woman you've become. Your mama would be proud too. Kate smiled. Thanks, Daddy. Thanks. You sleeping okay these days? Most nights, the nightmares are gone. I don't cry anymore. I'm just living my life. It's peaceful. Peace is underrated, Big Jim said, especially for a Morrison. We're usually so busy conquering, we forget to just be. I'm done conquering. I'm just being now. It's nice. Love you, baby girl. Love you too, Daddy. Kate hung up and sat in the quiet California night, listening to crickets and distant traffic and the sound of her own breathing. She thought about Derek in his studio apartment, about Scarlett, now divorced from the prince and trying to rebuild her brand, about the empire that had crumbled and the legacy she'd built from its ruins. She thought about Hope, the daughter she'd never held, and the beach that bore her secret name. And Kate Morrison realized something profound. She'd spent 15 years being Derek's foundation, making herself small so he could feel big, hiding her light under a bushel of yoga pants and carpools and quiet support. But she'd spent the last 5 years being her own foundation, building her own empire, creating her own legacy, taking up space, refusing to apologize for her existence. And the difference was everything. Derek had built a monument and called it success. Kate had built a beach and called it justice. Derek had measured his worth by his bank account. Kate measured hers by the lives she'd touched, the access she'd created, the children who played on sand where exclusivity once reigned. In the end, revenge hadn't been about destroying Derek. It had been about refusing to stay destroyed, about rising from the ashes of betrayal and building something beautiful, about turning pain into purpose and loss into legacy. The dynasty's revenge wasn't tearing down a man who'd betrayed her. It was becoming so fully herself that his betrayal became irrelevant. Kate Morrison finished her wine, went inside to her modest home with her sleeping children, and slept peacefully through the night. No nightmares, no regrets, no anger, just peace, just purpose. Just a woman who'd learned that the best revenge wasn't destruction. It was becoming so whole that the person who broke you became a footnote in your origin story rather than the author of your ending. Derek Holloway had tried to write Kate's ending, dead weight, beige, worthless, but Kate Morrison had taken the pen from his hand and written her own story, and it was legendary.